Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taiwan Talk, where we bring you stories straight from the newsmakers here in Taiwan. I'm today's host, Trevor Tortomasi, and for today's incredibly special episode, we're focusing on Seqalu, Formosa 1867. It's a newly released television series here in Taiwan, focusing on a truly unique time in Taiwan's history over 150 years ago. Seqalu has been a truly massive project in the works for many years, and I'm excited to share this conversation that I had with three people who played very important roles in its creation. Yes, that's right. We've got three people here to talk about Seqalu. Hello. We've got Andrew Chau, Zhou Hoan, who plays the part of William Pickering.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Chau. I play William Alexander Pickering, a British explorer in the series Seqalu.
We have Chien-Wei Huang, who plays the part of Liu Mingdeng, a Qing dynasty representative in Taiwan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chien-Wei Huang. My roles in Seqalu is a general from Qing dynasty.
And of course, there is the director himself, Jui-Yuan Tsao, who has poured his heart and countless hours into bringing Seqalu to life on screen.
Hello, I'm Jui-Yuan Tsao. I'm the director of the Seqalu.
I started by asking about the story's inception. When did the idea for this project first start?
其实这个片子大概在7年前
Director Jui-Yuan says, the idea began about 7 years ago with help from Chen Yuxiu, chairman of the Taiwan Broadcasting System, along with a book called Hua, a historical fiction novel written by Chen Yaozhang, which Seqalu is tied to very closely. The project to begin filming Seqalu itself finally began around 3 years ago, but Taiwan's historic documentation of the events which happened around 150 years ago was still very limited. And so a lot of the documentation came from the personal accounts of American consul Charles Legendre, Li Xiande, as well as from the travel notes and journals of an Englishman named William Pickering from his time in Taiwan. Since then, many more Taiwanese historians have conducted research into the time period, including through stories passed down by the indigenous people of Taiwan. But regardless of where you look, nothing can really compare to the level of depth and accuracy of the accounts of these two people, especially because they were so personally involved in the events of this story, and that's why their accounts became a main source of reference for the story of Seqalu. The first impression, it's full of wide-angle shots and large-scale scenes with tons of people on camera. What were some of the most difficult parts of filming those scenes?
Director
Tsao says, first of all, I sincerely hoped this series could capture the full scope of the beauty and variety of Taiwan's geography and landscape and scenery, but the most difficult part was when we were scouting. We found some places that were truly beautiful, but we had to give up on using some of them in the series because getting the actors and set workers, sometimes hundreds of people, to the places was just too difficult. For example, one scene we wanted to shoot in a mountain valley, but the road was incredibly difficult to traverse, and it would have taken all of us about 7 hours to get there. And still, regardless of geography, at least 90% of our scenes were shot outdoors, and so for a lot of our scenes, the success or failure of our shots depended heavily on the weather. Well, in that case, we can move right into talking about the weather, because I have heard lots of stories about how the weather was one of the most difficult parts of getting all the shots right. Director Tsao continues, clouds over Pingdong moved so quickly. Usually, as soon as we set up for a scene, maybe the first shot would be well lit under a clear sky. But then when we would start on the next shot, suddenly it was cloudy and the lighting had changed, so we would have to wait for the clear weather to return, and that could take hours at a time. One time we had to wait for 6 hours just to finish the next shot. What was the most difficult setup that you had to do as an actor?
我记得有一次我们去了一个海边，然后那个海边
Actor Chien-Wei Huang says, I remember for one scene we went to a rocky beach. The terrain was rough and the narrowest point was 3 meters between the mountain and the sea. And while we were shooting for the scene, the wind was so strong that we had to stand at an angle. The wind was just blowing and blowing and blowing, and we weren't even sure if the microphones could pick up what we were saying. And actually, lots of people even fell down. And my co-star Wen Zhenling, because of her smaller stature, it really looked like she was about to be blown away.
基本上快要 blowing in the wind.
Oh man. What kind of stories do we want to hear more of from Taiwan? Director Tsao says, we do hold up this story as a part of our history that many people don't know about, and this is important. But something else we emphasize is if we can spread and market this kind of series out from Taiwan to the rest of the world, it can play an important role in sharing Taiwan's identity with the international community. And it's not until Taiwan's culture and identity has been understood and recognized that the rest of the world can become more interested in Taiwan. And in this way, we create more opportunities to spread more Taiwanese products and art on an international level. So in addition to sharing its history, I wanted to make something that can help the world to see Taiwan in a new way.
让世界可以看到台湾。
Andrew and Huang Chien-Wei, do you also have any thoughts on this?
I think, it's important for people to understand that like this is a dramatic story that is, based on historical fiction. It's an adaptation of historical fiction. So, but it's 99% all on there's only one character that's completely fictitious. And these stories are all based on events that happened. And I think of it as a springboard for people into the stuff that was happening out here in this part of the world at that time that's really not that well documented. It's very, it's unfortunate that the majority of all of our documentation is, by these European explorers or the people who were here and, because they were the only ones who were in the habit of writing things down. A lot of people here were still illiterate or, not even in school. They're surviving. I think it's a good opportunity for people to do more research and get more curious and explore. And so I hope that people see this story and it sparks a curiosity in them to make them do their research and make them look into how all of these events have played out to where we are now and what that means to us. So I hope this does that for them.
Is there anything you'd like to add? If not,
我觉得导演跟后安讲的都是。
Actor Huang Chien-Wei continues, I agree with what Director Tsao and Andrew have said, and in addition to that, I'm very grateful to our government for being willing to work so hard and contribute to help us complete the Seqalu series, which has now expanded the kinds of media and performances we can produce, because before we hadn't ever filmed something like Seqalu. It's encouraged us to explore new styles and possibilities and creating new choices for audiences. It has stimulated the entire industry in Taiwan and given it the courage to take more chances in producing this kind of media. And this, to our history, to our industry, and to the self-identity of the people on this island, is something the likes of which we've never seen before.
以及当然我们在这块土地上的人的自我认同都是前所未有的。
I'd like to say thank you once again to Seqalu director Tsao Rui-Yuan, as well as the talented actors Andrew Chau, Zhou Houan, and Huang Chien-Wei. Thank you to all of you and to everyone who worked on Seqalu, and thank you for telling your stories. And if you haven't already, please go check out the series itself, available on Netflix now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
谢谢。
Thank you very much. And you can join my co-host Ryan Drilsma in next week's episode, and I'll have another episode up in 2 weeks. Until next time, I'm Trevor Tortomasi on ICRT FM 100. If you'd like to hear more from ICRT, you can check out our other podcasts. We've got Taiwan This Week, a roundup of the news in Taiwan every Friday, English in the News for useful English expressions explained in Chinese, and EZ News, spelled with the letters E and Z, for simplified daily news. For some lighter news in both English and Chinese, check out News Bites and News for Kids. And if you enjoy them, tell a friend. Thanks for listening.